How's everybody feeling tonight? Let me see you clap your hands like this. Come on, come on. Come on. Oh, yeah. The song says, listen. I made up my mind, and I'm not going for it this time.
Yeah.
It's feeling so good.
One time.
You couldn't stop it if you wanted to.
There it is. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mac Lessons Radio Show, featuring me, your luxurious, gracious host, Mr. Tariq Elite, also known as Tariq Nasheed. Glad to have all of you ladies and gentlemen tuning in, soaking up game with me on this wonderful day. And today's show is brought to you by MacLessons.com. That's where you can get all my pay-per-view specials, including marriage, macking, and monogamy, black secret societies, the Illuminati, interracial Macking Week Part 2, all of the great specials you guys need to be checking out at MacLessons.com. And today's show is brought to you by HiddenColorsFilm.com, where you can get the wonderful, life-changing documentary Hidden Colors. Now also, ladies and gentlemen, if you see Hidden Colors in a store or bookstore somewhere, make sure you are getting the authentic copy. There's a lot of bootlegging going on out there, so make sure you're getting an authentic copy, not one of those Sabir Bay bootlegs. Get the authentic copy of Hidden Colors. Ask the people at the store, where did they get their copy from? If they didn't get it from King Flex Entertainment, most likely it's a bootleg. So look at the back, and if you can't see the back that well, if you can't read the back of the DVD, most likely it's a bootleg. So make sure you're supporting the authentic film, because we need all of that support. But I digress. So ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, I'm going to be doing an interview with Miss Wendy Wright from WOL Radio. I did an interview with her on her station last week, and it was a very controversial interview. It circulated all around the web. We had a little disagreement with what she was talking about, and I discussed that on last week's show. I did a whole show about that. The show was an hour long, and a lot of people liked last week's show. And I was supposed to go on vacation, which I am. I'm still going on vacation this week, but I wanted to squeeze this last show in because Wendy contacted me and she wanted me to come back on her show. And I agreed to come back on her show under one condition. And the condition was she come on the Mac Lessons Radio Show and chop it up with me first. So I did her interview yesterday, and I taped our phone discussion a day before that. So the interview we did today was cool. Everything was very calm on the radio. It was very amicable. Everything was very smooth and professional. There was no yelling and screaming because there's a lot of cooperation going on now because, fellas, this is part of the game right here. I want you to take notes. A lot of times when women come at you sideways, you have to check them. A lot of women just need a good checking. And a lot of times when you check a female and stand up to them, they come back at you with a lot of good cooperation. And Wendy, she's no exception. She's very cooperative now because she's been checked. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. A lot of women need a good checking in their lives. Now, I know a lot of women are like, God damn it, I don't need a man to check me. And the main ones are saying that, you're the ones who need to be checked. But this interview that Wendy and I did is a very interesting interview because, again, it's a calm interview. We're not battling back and forth because she is bringing a lot of cooperation to the table. And my thing is, if I invite somebody on my show, I don't try to sabotage them or disrespect. You know, I'm very respectful for anybody I invite on my show. And this is how you gain the respect of your audience. People don't like you to invite somebody on your show or invite someone into your home, so to speak, and then you attack them. That's a very bad look, and it shows a lack of character. And I think this is why a lot of people were upset with Wendy, because I was an invited guest on the show, and the interview style was taken as being disrespectful to me. So that's where a lot of backlash came in, because people were going in on Wendy. They were going in on her Facebook page. So she was getting the business from a lot of people. Now, we did this interview, and the interview is about 49 minutes long, a lot of good information. And one thing about Wendy, she's cool. We see another side of Wendy. You know, she's cooperative now, but one thing that threw me off a little bit, she did backpedal a lot. There was a lot of, I didn't say that, I didn't say that. And when we were doing the interview, I just didn't have the time to search for the clips to play her saying certain things. But she did a lot of backpedaling. And she even did it on the radio station today when I did an interview with her. There was a lot of backpedaling she was doing. So it is what it is. You know, that's more reflective of what's going on with her. Didn't bother me because I know the truth, and you, the audience, you know the truth as well. There's one clip that I want to play very quickly. This is a clip from the first interview we did on her show, the whole controversial banter back and forth between me and her. And here's a comment she made about Tim Wise. And when I asked her about this conversation again with the interview that we're doing today, she kind of denied saying certain things. But let me play the interview, a clip of it very quickly, when she made a statement about listening to Tim Wise. Hold on.
Okay, but again, we have a choice in that, and what we choose to spend where we choose to spend our money, and what we choose to watch and buy. Okay, so I'm just saying. Now we can, and I love that you made this film. I just think that I know we have a goal, we have a vision for what we're doing, and when some of the things that we do, I think work against us. That's all I'm trying to say.
I'm still trying to figure out what's working against us. You haven't been specific about that, sister.
I think, well, that's because we've had this discussion for like 2 weeks, because I brought it up and you obviously weren't listening, and that's why you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But I suggested that we stop with, that we let other people, namely there's a lot of organizations out there that are fighting for racial justice. There's a lot of anti-racist advocates out there, and they're not black. They're not black. Have you ever heard of Tim Wise?
Yeah, I know Tim Wise.
Yeah.
I like Tim Wise's stuff. I'm very familiar with him.
Yeah, so let him speak about that, because white people are going to listen to a white man saying, yeah, we are doing this, folks. Don't even try it. I'm white, too, and I know what we're doing. They're going to listen to him before they listen to us.
Sister, we don't need a white daddy.
That's not what I'm saying. See, this is the problem with the black community. This is the problem with the black community.
Daddy syndrome. I don't need a white daddy.
I'm sorry. You can have that attitude, Tariq. It's not going to. But they're not going to listen to you. You can go out there and say this, whatever you want. You can scream at the top of your lungs. Is it going to accomplish anything?
Yes, I can accomplish what I need to accomplish within my own community.
Okay, but what's your purpose for screaming that out to white people?
It ain't about.
But what is the purpose of doing that?
I'm not screaming anything out to white folks. You keep saying that. That's something that you keep saying.
All right.
You keep making about white folks. I have yet to say I'm screaming anything out to white folks. Not at all. This movie isn't about white folks. This is about us acknowledging our history, putting our history out there, teaching our kids, getting the information out there so we can become a strong unit, so we can build up the self-esteem of people who've been subjugated to misinformation about black folks.
And it doesn't have to be kept quiet. It could be put out there for everybody to see, but especially black folks to see.
That's one of the listeners.
All right. Thank you so much, BJ.
Okay, you're welcome.
Tariq, stay with me, okay?
Okay, so I just wanted y'all to hear that, because when I brought that up, a lot of that stuff in that banter right there, she kind of denied it. But I'm going to play the interview right now. So there's some very interesting things in this interview. And here it is right here on the Mac Lessons radio show, me and Wendy Wright. All right, this is Tariq Elite Nasheed, Mac Lessons Radio. And I have on the phone from WOL Radio in Washington, D.C., we have the controversial Miss Wendy Wright. How are you, Wendy?
I'm good. How are you, Tariq?
I'm good, Wendy. I'm good. So, the interview we did last week, actually, on your show, it stirred up a lot of conversation.
It sure did.
Yes, it did. What type of responses have you been getting from people?
Well, from your fans, not very favorable, to say the least. They were quite vicious. I will say one thing. They love you, and that's a testament to you and their faith in you and what you do.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's a little thing because it's almost cult-like, because they didn't know the whole story, but they were ready to attack me. So you're a very powerful person.
I don't think it's cult-like. I think, my listeners, they just like the truth. You know what I'm saying? And there was a lot of smoke screens you were throwing up, Wendy. So my listeners, my supporters are real big supporters of the truth, and they will back the truth. And if they see anything that seems a little deceptive, they kind of jump on that. Even your listeners were supporting me. I got a lot of support from people who listen to your show on a regular basis.
Because there were two things going on, I think, and it's unfortunate that it got crowded together. Like, it'd be interesting that we just talk about your film, that's it, and then another conversation would be the other things that we were talking about.
Right.
Because I got a lot of support actually from your fans too. They weren't willing to put it on the Facebook page because of how mean some of the people were being, so they sent it in emails and whatever. I mean, do you really think they knew the whole truth though?
Yeah.
I don't want to take it on that. You do? They heard 5 minutes and then they heard your side of it.
Well, a lot of people tuned in to it because I posted on Facebook that I'm going to be doing an interview on your show, and a lot of people got to hear it. And there are some people who actually taped the second half of my segment on your show, and they heard how everything went down. So they got to hear a lot. They got to hear you, and they got to hear and see what actually went down on your show.
All right.
And the thing is, what it looked like a sabotage job on your behalf, Wendy. It looked like you purposely had a preconceived notion to sabotage the film or to throw negative light on the film by using the Mac Lessons radio show. That looks like what you were trying to do.
Really?
Yeah.
Because if you go back and listen to the interview, where it changed, the tone changed when you were saying that when a black person puts our history out there, it's received as revolutionary and militant and all that. Right. And I was like, really? You really think so?
And you jumped on that. I mean, you really just jumped on that and made something out of it that really wasn't there. You turned that one statement into an anti-white thing. You kept trying to make it seem like I was being anti-white, and I never said that.
No, I don't. That's not. I think I said that maybe I was trying to wonder why they would take us just talking about history as militant. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of history books out there. They teach it in colleges. So I was saying maybe it's the marketing.
They teach a certain. Wait, let me pause you right there, Wendy, because you say they teach it in college, but they really don't. They teach slavery and civil rights in school and in college. They don't really teach real African history or the real history of people of color. You understand that?
I mean, I'm hearing you. Are you sure? Because I went
positive.
and looked on all the college, like not all, but a lot of them, just to see, because I work with college students at my other job, and they're so smart about African history.
They don't really
stuff
teach
that I didn't know.
A lot of people,
okay,
they just don't teach it in school. They teach slavery and civil rights. I would love to know which colleges you're talking about. Now, in the 90s, there was a conscious movement around black colleges. They brought a lot of people in, like Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima. They would bring those people in, but that teetered off when the new millennium came. And so a lot of colleges don't really teach African history because a lot of colleges, they have their agenda as well. You understand that, right?
Right.
Right, because a lot of colleges are funded by white philanthropists. That's how black colleges, so to speak. I heard a gasp there, Wendy.
Yeah, because it's not you. It's like, I don't know that there's that smart. Like, the film, amazing, by the way. It's so much information
Thank you.
that people have to watch it more than once, number one, take
Right.
notes, number two,
Right.
and then go read further.
Absolutely.
I feel like, how are they that smart that they could do all those things like as a collaborative effort to take us down? Because I know who we are.
Okay.
You are an example, Tariq.
Right.
This is what bothers me. You were watching the History Channel,
Right.
and you said, I need to know something more. And what did you do? You got up off your butt, and you went and looked for it, and you found it.
Right.
And that is the example that we all have to follow. I'm just not that. It's something. It just, my spirit does not allow people to take away my freedom. I guess
Right.
I'm a fighter.
And
why we don't do what you did? That's the question I'm trying to ask. Like, what's stopping us?
Well, the thing is, I just happen to be the kind of person who I've traveled a lot, and a lot of people may not have the means or the wherewithal to travel and experience certain things that I have. And the thing is, a lot of us are fed through what we see on television, movies, and the education system. And the education system, we can't be naive and think that they're not purposely miseducating people of color, and in whites as well, because this whole thing about me blaming all whites, that's not it. When I say they, I'm not blaming all whites, because you're right. You're like, how could they be so smart? They're not so smart to have this whole collective collaborative thing. It's a certain group of people on the top, Wendy, that's playing both sides, because whites are victims as well. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when I say they, I'm talking about the people on top that run the show behind closed doors, the people that even the liberal whites are complaining about with the whole Occupy Wall Street thing. People are getting hip to the unseen hand, so to speak. So that's who I was referring to. So I'm not throwing all white people under the bus. And you were saying, you put up a YouTube video and you labeled me bigoted, which I really didn't like.
Well, that literally, and let me explain that. I didn't identify you.
But my voice is on there, though, Wendy. But my voice is on there.
But really, I didn't know. I had a small group of people on my Facebook page. I was trying to build my audience, and unfortunately, in the media, people like provocative content, and no one knew who you were. So I intentionally didn't identify the source of the voice or anything. It was just really just to draw an audience, and it worked, which is really sad.
Okay, but you didn't have to use
we
bigoted.
talk about a lot of.
Don't use
I know.
me.
I mean, I can change that.
Yeah, because I'm not bigoted. And the conversation from me was not bigoted. You kept trying to throw down the whole white people are bad. You think white people are bad thing down my throat, and what are whites going to think, and all that down my throat. Now,
Tariq, did I say that?
Yes, you did several
How did I
times.
say that?
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you
not.
did, Wendy. You said several times that you making it seem like whites are bad and whites are doing this and whites are that, and you were making it seem like I was doing that.
No, I really didn't say that you were making it seem like whites are bad. It went from really literally when you said that
Wendy, you were saying that. Wendy, yes, you were.
It's on the site. It's on the site.
Yes, it is on the site.
I know for a fact that I didn't say that.
I know for a fact you did, Wendy. I wish I could play it back. It would take time to find it, but you were making it seem.
I have it right here. If you want me to play it.
I don't want to play the whole thing, but you were making it seem like I was saying that whites are bad. That's why you put the bigoted thing up there, right?
I put the bigoted thing up there because you asked me if I had dated a white guy.
What was bigoted about that?
Right then, because your tone changed. You're like, Wendy, from asking that question.
How was that bigoted to whites asking if you dated a white guy?
Because you said just from that response that I had whatever.
White daddy syndrome, yes.
Yeah, white daddy syndrome.
But that's not bigoted
And-
towards
and-
whites. That's about you. Hello?
Well, I tend to see it as bigoted because I don't believe in the whole sellout thing. Just if people have white friends, or if a black guy's dating a white woman, or
Right.
Asian, or whatever, I don't care about any of that if the person's happy and stuff. But
And I don't care either. I've dated white girls
Okay.
before. I went out
Well-
with white girls, all races before.
all right.
But
and so
to take
I
on a
just thought
certain
because
ideology, that my complaint was with you, taking on a certain ideology, and a lot of times black women, such as yourself, in not all cases, but in many cases, a lot of sisters who date white men, they take on a certain ideology where they have to distance themselves from the black community. So that's the thing I was pointing out. So it wasn't a negative thing towards whites.
Okay. Clarification received.
There you go.
But the thing is, did you hear one thing I loved when I watched the movie was that who was it? I think it was, I don't know if it was Dr. Coleman or Dr. Valentine, where they were talking about thinking and strategies.
Right.
It was Dr. Valentine. And that's what I was talking about. It wasn't that I was afraid of white people and talking to them, calling things out. I was saying we need to reconsider our strategy for the common good of the group as a whole. Because
And your strategy was not
Mm-hmm.
to antagonize whites by saying that they've hidden our history. That was your strategy, right?
That wasn't my strategy. I said we have to consider our strategy because, and even I think Dr. Coleman pointed out how, it wasn't Dr. Coleman, it was the gentleman in the brown shirt.
Right.
Anyway, he said the leaders that came after Dr. King, after they started killing after they started killing black leaders, the black leaders that came after them were afraid.
Right.
And so they weren't really working on our behalf. And that is exactly what I was saying, is that they're running their mouths and they're hurting our cause. And that's why I said when there is some form of injustice because of what those people did,
Okay.
I can't get any justice because those black leaders that I personally did not elect to speak for me and represent me. You know
So
what I
you're
mean?
saying that
They
we
have kind of-
shouldn't say anything? So we shouldn't say
I
anything
was
publicly?
Saying, I was saying because of what they did, they kind of messed it up for us, and so now we have to regroup and find a different strategy because they said it too much. That people have become desensitized to it. In fact, a study just came out today that we talked about on my show about the huge disconnect between perceptions of whites and blacks, and 16% of white people don't even think discrimination exists.
Right, I heard about that study. I heard about it on the radio on
Yeah.
another station today. I understand that. But the
So
thing,
when we're talking-
but let's go back to
Go
your
ahead.
point. I don't want to get
I'm
too
sorry.
lost with your point, because your point was, and you kept driving this point home, was that we and the leaders, the so-called black leaders, that's a questionable thing right there, because we don't really have black leaders like we used to. The black
Right.
leaders you might be talking about is Jesse Jackson and Sharpton, and
Yes.
a lot of
And
people
that's
that are controlled by the white establishment. These are not real
Exactly.
black leaders, by the way. And I'm not. Sharpton does great work, and Jesse has done great things. I'm not trying to minimize what they do, but
Yes.
we have to look at everything in the whole context.
Right, we're on the same page there. That's what I was saying. They're the ones that the media, or for some reason they're given they're allowed to speak for all of us, and they have not done a good job of that. And that's why I was saying, because of what they did, when we are speaking and trying to fight for justice, it's falling on deaf ears. It's defeating the purpose of what we're trying to accomplish because of what the Sharptons and the Reverend Jacksons did. And that's
Okay,
what
but
I'm
we're
saying.
talking about two different things now. That I can understand that, but you were making it seem like, well, not even making it seem, you were very adamant about me saying that they hid our history. We shouldn't say that. We shouldn't say that. We shouldn't say that.
No,
Because we should come up with different strategies. You kept driving that point home, and
No,
that's
I
the
wasn't
point
saying
I
that
really
we
disagree
had to-
with.
No, the only time I addressed that was when you said whenever we present our history, we're seen as revolutionary and radical and all
Wendy,
that. And I was
you
like, well,
said
maybe
that
it's the
throughout
way
the
we're
whole
marketing
interview.
it.
Wendy, you were like
Yeah, but
throughout
you
the
kept-
whole interview saying that
Because I
we
couldn't
shouldn't
recall
say
what
this.
you had said.
But no, you were saying that we whites, we shouldn't shove it down their throats. We shouldn't do this. We should. You like the film. This is your words. You said that you like the idea of the film, but just the negative undertone of saying they hit our history. We shouldn't say that, and I so disagree with that.
So, and I'll tell you why I was doing that.
Why were you doing that, Wendy?
The only reason it was only in response to when you were saying, when we talk about you said black elites who know this history are
Right.
afraid to talk about it because they're seen as revolutionary and
Right.
radical and whatever. And I said, well, maybe it's because of the way it's marketed.
How's that's another thing I don't quite understand. What do you mean?
I don't know. Well, why would they think that our history is radical? That's what I was only.
You can market it anyway. If you acknowledge any of your history outside of slavery and really civil rights, for some reason you will be labeled as a radical. You're labeled as militant, so to speak. This is why.
Who has put history out there that's been dumped that's been labeled radical?
Who's what now?
Who has put some history out there that was labeled radical?
Who has?
Yeah.
There's several people.
All the people in your film, were they all labeled radical because they wrote about it and stuff?
A lot of them are. Like Shahrazad Ali, she was, they pulled her through the ringer when she was on the talk show circuit in the 90s. Oh, they were hell on that woman. Frances Cress Welsing, they were hell on Frances Cress Welsing. All the speakers, these people had to fight.
Even now?
Even now, absolutely. Even now they do. Dr. Umar Johnson, they're hell on this brother. He's out there fighting, getting things together for the school system. So all of the speakers were considered radical speakers for saying what they had to say. And this is why I wanted to do a film to really show their side of the game in a mainstream setting, to put it in theaters and put it out there with a nice production to show how everything makes sense and how everything is pertinent to today's issues. But
I thought it was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
The film. It was, yeah. And I think everyone could watch it.
Yeah.
You know,
I totally agree.
Really, and enjoy it, because it was like, I don't even know how to describe it.
And it's a great film. As people say, it's one of the best. You know, I'm patting myself on the back a little bit, but people say it's one of the best history documentaries ever. And the thing is, the film, it has been an underground success and a commercial success, but it has not gotten any mainstream coverage whatsoever. So this film was a grassroots thing, and if it was something about slavery or the civil rights, I think it would have gotten more mainstream exposure. But we did it on a grassroots level. So that's what I mean. Something like this, the mainstream won't touch it because it's seen as too radical. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So that was my whole thing with you. And you kept saying you shouldn't say this. And another thing that I really disagree with the whole Tim Wise thing. You were like, well, you should get people like Tim Wise to speak for us. And that's the worst message to tell people.
That's not what I said.
Oh, Wendy.
I didn't say they should speak for us. I said, and if you were a regular listener, we're in agreement with this. In fact, we talked about it today, and you can hear it. I am tired of talking to white people because it's not doing anything. So the issue of the discrimination and racism, when we say it to them, they're like, yeah, whatever, it doesn't exist. But when someone of their own race is saying, yeah, it is in existence.
Washington.
We are racist. There is white privilege. You better acknowledge it. They're going to take it better from him than they would from us. I wasn't saying he should speak for us as if we're
basically you were. Basically you were, Wendy.
It was just the way you were. I'm explaining myself. You have to understand, emotion got in there, ego got in there, so we didn't have the opportunity to really explain each of both our points of view. So I'm just clarifying it right now, and I think that would be a strategy because he's not the only one. In fact, I had this guy on, Selwyn Duke, and you may want to check him out because he actually said white privilege does not exist.
He a black man or a white man?
He's a white man.
Okay.
And I got him and another white man, who says it does. He speaks out about it. His name is Jed Middlebrook. And I had them debate it out.
I love Tim Wise. I like Tim Wise, but I just don't think we don't need a white person to speak for us. We don't need that. We have our own speakers.
Speak for us.
Yes,
I'm saying the whole issue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Go ahead. But you did say it. I will try to find the clip. But I hear you clarifying yourself right now. But I still disagree. I understand that whites will listen to another white person, but we don't need anybody to represent us. We have voices. We can say what we have to say. And the thing is, it ain't about us trying to convince whites of anything. We can make all the sense in the world. Deep down, whites know that racism exists. And a lot of people don't even like Tim Wise. Excuse me. A lot of whites can't stand Tim Wise. Tim Wise gets a lot of death threats from other white people.
Oh, I know.
You understand?
It makes you wonder, why is he doing it?
Exactly.
He's enjoying the privilege. And he's being received negatively. Why would he do that?
He's a person, some people, and Michael Moore's another guy who speaks the truth, and he will call out white supremacy. Very good guy. So there are some whites who will go out there and speak the truth, because the truth will set you free. People just can't, it's hard to live a lie. It's a very sickening thing to live a lie. So a lot of whites out there who are liberal enough and smart enough and courageous enough to tell the truth, they are out there. There are white people like John Brown that people don't like to talk about, a white man who started a slave rebellion in the 1800s.
I remember that. Yeah,
exactly.
He and his sons died. Yep.
Exactly. So people don't like to talk about that. So I will give a white person props where props are due, but I don't need them representing me. You understand?
I didn't say represent. I said that whole fight about pointing out racism and discrimination, they should do it amongst themselves, because they caused it. And they need to fix it amongst themselves, and we need to be focused on what we're doing.
Absolutely.
That's all I was saying. Now, when you say, yeah, we can say it, but what is our purpose? I'm always about, what's our intention? Is there a purpose to it? If I say to you, let's pretend you're a white guy, you are a racist, and what you're doing is you're keeping us down, you're discriminating. What is my purpose for doing that? To get him to admit it? To get him to hire me, or just to make sure he knows that I told him so? Like, what is our purpose? That's all I'm saying.
Right, and you were posing that question to me about the film, and the purpose of the film is not to get whites to. Well, that's what when we were doing the interview, we were talking about the film, and you kind of posed the question: what's the purpose of? You say it to whites a certain way, and my thing, it ain't about whites. It's about us knowing who we are. It's all about knowing who we are, and we have to understand we don't know certain things about history because of a proactive thing done by other people. So we can't ignore that fact. That's why in Hidden Colors, the second part of the film goes into why the history was hidden, and that's very important to know. Because a lot of people think, well, I don't know this history, something must be wrong with me. No, this history has been purposely hidden from you, and we have to acknowledge that. We have to acknowledge that black people weren't allowed to read for a long time. It was illegal for blacks to read. Also, and when you were saying that, well, their parents should teach them this. If a parent,
yeah, I mean, because I'm sorry, go ahead.
If a parent does not know this, how are they going to teach them? You have to understand, we go back generations and generations, libraries were segregated, so a lot of information wasn't accessible to a lot of black folks. So we just don't have this information. The education system isn't teaching us this. I learned in school, Marcus Garvey, they actually taught me in school that Marcus Garvey was a bad guy. They taught me that Marcus Garvey was a scam artist. I didn't know until I became an adult that Marcus Garvey was a very thorough brother. So we have to take away the miseducation that has been placed upon us. You understand that?
I do. Now, when I said that the parents, here's the thing. Back during the civil rights era, would you agree that we carried ourselves with a greater sense of respect? Education was such a big part of our struggle and fight and pride. We wanted, we were all about education.
Yes, indeed.
What happened? And parents were educating their kids. You talk about smart people that came from that time. We've dummied down.
Yeah, we have.
So when I'm saying the parents, I'm not going way back. I'm talking about right now. So they were doing it during the civil rights era. What happened?
What happened
That's what
was
I'm saying,
black
yeah.
folks traded that for integration, or the myth of integration. That's what happened. We wanted to be accepted by whites, and that was the downfall of everything. And not to say that's a negative thing about whites, but the thing is, we gave up a lot of our structure to be falsely integrated, because we're still not really integrated. The schools are not really integrated. The neighborhoods are not really integrated. You might find a couple of black families in a few white neighborhoods, but for the most part, blacks live on one side of the tracks, whites live on the other side of the tracks. We're still a very segregated society when you look at the basis of everything, even the way they give out businesses and loans for homes. We're still very segregated to a certain degree. So that's something that we have to be very realistic about.
Yeah, and this is my frustration, because even with there's so many. I don't know if we should talk about it now or save some of it for tomorrow, but there's something about our divine nature that gave us free will. I mean, that's our divinity. That's what's divine about us, the free will. So when someone takes that away from us, we're fighting for that, right? So someone took away our choice to go into a restaurant where white people were. It wasn't us. We missed the mark. We didn't want to necessarily go to that restaurant. We wanted the right to choose to go to that restaurant.
Absolutely.
So somewhere we got all screwed up. It was the right that we wanted, not for integration.
Exactly. But then we did get mixed up. The right was we were on the right path to have the right to do what we wanted to do, to go where we wanted to go, to have civil rights, to not be lynched and hung and discriminated against, because we are tax-paying people. We shouldn't be treated as second-class citizens. We shouldn't have to ride on a certain part of the bus. So we wanted civil rights. But the thing is, a lot of us started to want to be accepted by whites, and that was the problem. We have to accept ourselves and have a pride for ourselves, and not worry about what other people think about us.
And this is another thing that bothers me too about us, because my parents, I didn't have the history, right? But my parents were my history. I looked at my mom and my dad, my grandparents, and was proud, and my uncles. That's where my pride came from.
Now let me ask you this, Wendy. Now, you're not biracial, are you?
I'm Native American and black, but I mean the Native American it's not immediate in my family.
Okay. It's
like,
farther on down the line.
That. Yeah.
Okay, black folks love claiming that Native American, boy. Y'all love
that.
No,
I mean my great grandmother was Choctaw. I mean, I'm just saying. You asked if I was biracial, but
okay. Now, did you grow up in the Washington D.C. area?
No, I grew up in Texas.
Okay.
Well, I've lived all over. We were born in Houston, and then I literally lived moved well over 20 times. So my parents now are in Maryland, and that's where home is, I guess. But I really don't have a place to call home.
Okay.
So I don't even own furniture because I move constantly.
Okay. And now a lot of the listeners, they were like, those girls are kind of bougie. Oh, they were they were saying that you guys were very bougie. And I know you probably heard that before growing up, that you and your sisters are very bougie.
I heard we were called Oreos. I was a nerd. If you saw pictures of me, I just was such a nerd. I loved to read, wore thick glasses, hair in a ponytail. That was it. My mom would press our hair every day. And I had one friend. and we lived there was actually another black girl that lived across the street, but she didn't like me. But I had one friend and my sisters.
Right.
And I don't even think my sisters had that many friends, but we were each other's best friends. We were teased by black people because of the way we speak.
Right.
And the fact that education was really instilled in us. My grandmother was a musical genius. She taught at the Texas Southern University. And she could hear a song and play it just from hearing it. So education was big in our life, and we were teased for that by black people.
I can imagine.
So we weren't called bougie. I swear, my mother would dress us in animals up until I was like in 7th grade. So, I mean, we were teased quite a bit.
Now were you the, what we call the Jack and Jill kids? Did they have you guys in the Jack and Jill of America organization?
Oh, No, but my little sister, my mom and my little sister, and this is when we moved to Pennsylvania, Richboro, was all Jewish. I was actually called an ape, and I was just starting college. This was not that long ago in Richboro, Pennsylvania, Bucks County. At that time, my mom joined Jack and Jill's because it was a very white, racist area. And I think she felt some sort of camaraderie there because her one friend there that was a black woman was in the organization. Mm-hmm. And I think she just did that because that was the only black friend she had.
Okay.
But we didn't grow up like that. But my grandmother actually told me about the Blue Vein Society.
Right. Was she
was
part of
denied
that?
access. No, she was denied access into that club.
She wasn't light enough?
Correct.
Okay. That's wow.
Yeah.
That's funny. Now,
Yeah.
somebody's light. Who's light in your family? Because you guys, some of your sisters look. You're the darkest one in the family.
I know, and that's another thing that I thought was funny because from my perspective, my mom is very fair too. Well, somebody along the line was raped, clearly. Mm-hmm. And my mom is very fair. I was the dark one. And so growing up with my mother and my sisters looking lighter than me, I always thought I was dark. And to hear people call me light-skinned, it's kind of weird because in my mind, I'm dark because the people that I was comparing it to were my sisters and my mother.
Exactly.
So, but it didn't matter. Try to think. Well, my grandfather worked for the Hobbies in Houston as a butler.
Okay.
He had an 8th grade education, and it's funny and he was fair. He could have passed for a white man. He could have definitely passed for a white man. He had blue eyes, and like soft gray hair.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it was always white ever since I've known him. I don't know what the original color was.
Okay.
And my grandmother was dark, and but he was black. He just, like I said, his grandmother was the Choctaw, and I guess I don't know where it came from. I have no idea. I guess it.
Wow.
Somewhere there. Yeah.
But I knew there was some Jack and Jill stuff going on in the family over there. I know. I can tell that. I know.
I just told you the thing. My mom was my little sister.
Okay.
My little sister, and she's 12 years younger than I am.
Okay.
And that was when she was little. I was already in college.
Okay.
That was way after I had kind of developed who I was.
So
there was no Jack and Jill thing. My little sister.
Okay, but your little sister was
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought you just had the other two sisters. How many sisters you have?
I have 3 sisters. Erica, Laura, and I are like a year apart.
Okay.
And we have one father. And then my little sister and brother came from another father, so my stepdad.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, that makes perfect sense. Now, is your dad still alive?
Yeah, both my yeah.
So your mom's second husband, your stepdad, is he white?
No. No, there's none of us have, no.
Okay.
My little sister's husband is black. My stepdad's black. My father's black.
Okay.
Erica's husband is Arabic, and I thought that was interesting what was in the film about that, because some of your viewers they pulled a picture of her, which was so wrong because Erica wasn't even in the interview. By the way, I was laughing at Help cover.
Yeah. One of my listeners made a poster of you guys as the Help. And that was funny.
I died. I actually interviewed one of the women from the movie on the show.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, we were talking about Erica because Erica was chiming in on the second interview, the second show you did, talking about me in the film, and Erica was chiming in, and I'm like,
she agreed with you, Tariq. She agreed with you.
But she was kind of like, well, we should kind of water everything down. She was agreeing to a certain degree, but I'm like, somebody's husband is white, and
No.
Technically, he's white because Arabic, when they get over here, they're classified as white, by the way. Genotypically, no, but when they get over here socially, they live as whites. Like Steve Jobs from Apple, people don't know he was Arabic. He was an Arabic American. A lot of folks don't know that. So there are a lot of Arab people passing, if we want to call it that, for white over here, and they're classified as that. So, and we talked about your dating. You mentioned you dated white guys. Have you dated black men before?
Yeah, in fact, I'm talking to one now, and it's not even an issue of race; it's an issue of age.
Okay,
that
how
I'm
old is he?
dealing with. But no,
Is he older or younger?
I'm younger, and I'm not going there. I'm not even going there. He's black. But Laura, and you haven't met Laura. She's only dated black men, only will. And here's the thing: her first boyfriend ever. She only had 2 boyfriends because they weren't good. The relationships, black. And the first guy physically abused Laura. I actually went after him. And my scrawny little, I'm 5'4", 115 pounds.
Yeah.
I went after him because I'm a fighter. He hit me so hard that he knocked both my earrings out of my ears.
God damn.
Yeah.
I don't want to laugh, but...
And I laugh about it now because and when he did it, he was actually reaching across the driver of the car. I'm just giving you an example of, this was a black man, how he treated my sister and even hit me. I went after him with a knife, but I'm going to end the story there.
Okay.
And then her next, actually she had 3 boyfriends, all black, and they all were just not right to her. So what does that say? Nothing. I'm not judging all black men. By the way,
she's
a lot of
choosing the
black
wrong
guys,
brothers, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah.
Absolutely. But back to the whole thing as far as the radio station. Again, a lot of people thought that, okay, Wendy is going to try to appease the white boss at the job by throwing another brother under the bus, because we see a lot of that in the media. We see a lot of TV shows and radio shows where they get black women to talk negatively or to do some kind of ambush interview with a black male in order to gain favor with the white bosses. We see that time and time and again, and our interview looked like another case of that. So this is why there was a lot of venom thrown towards you.
Well, let me ask you this. That 1 5-minute clip was where there was the anger, but the rest of the interview I didn't think was throwing you under the bus. In fact, the callers agreed with you.
It just backfired, Wendy. The thing is, I think but that is so wrong, and so that's what's scary about what went down on my Facebook page. People were drawing conclusions that were simply false. I have never, I wish I could even videotape it. I have never met any of the management in that radio station. In fact, I wanted you to come back on because I invited you back on at the end of the show. There's not been any discussion about the radio show. Okay.
Amongst management or anything.
Right.
And in fact, they told me that my board op and whoever it was she was training, they were like, hang up on him because of how you were talking to me. And I was like, no, because it's not about me, it's about the film.
Wait, so the bosses were saying hang up on me?
No, the board op. She actually posted, she's a black girl, she's 24. She was telling me to hang up on you.
Right, because the interview backfired.
They're not there. Huh?
She was probably saying hang up because the whole thing backfired.
No, that she was saying hang up because of how you were talking to me.
I was talking.
There was no backlash at the station. Nobody even. I had to actually get Ron in to listen to the clip. He didn't know. They don't even listen. I'm serious. It's like, so for them to think that it was even that much that management got involved was just so not even the truth.
No, not even that management was involved, but a lot of times, even on a subconscious level, when a lot of sisters want to keep their jobs, the easiest thing to do to gain favor with whites or the white bosses is to show them that you can throw brothers under the bus. I've talked about that on my show many times.
Well, you must not listen to WOL because we just throw white people under the bus all the time.
No, okay. Well, you were very defensive of whites.
And I don't mean to.
Right.
No, I wasn't. I was saying because we're talking about strategy now. We're moving our money to black banks. Like people are emailing me jobs that are available. Like we're talking about strategy, and I really didn't. It wasn't about the hiding. I forgot what you had said, and literally it was only when you were saying that when black people speak about history, it's being seen as radical and revolutionary. And I didn't realize that. And I was like, maybe it's the marketing. That's where that came from. And then I forgot what you had said, the only thing I could recall was that you were saying it's hiding. I couldn't recall that you use the word propaganda and that they're calling us revolutionary. I just couldn't remember. So the only thing I could recall was hiding, even though that's not the extent of it. I was just, and you kept going back there.
The whole show became about hiding, and I shouldn't say that. The whole show became that. I'm like, okay, what is this about? What is this whole thing about? And I'm like, okay, this sounds like an ambush thing. And the thing is, a lot of people underestimate me. I'm not the dude to ambush because I can talk my way out of that stuff all day and flip it right back. So I'm not the dude to ambush, especially when people try to use – and this is another thing you did. You got back on the next day. Erica, do you know what he does? He has a show called Mac Lessons, talking about macking the black women. You were just so ready to throw that. That was your trump card right there.
I did, but I only spent not even 15 seconds on that. And you know it.
But
only a little bit. But
that was your trump card, though, Wendy. That was your trump card.
Only in how you talk to me, not about any other, not about the film. My upset was how you spoke to me during that 5-minute clip.
Wendy, how did I speak to you? Wait, how did I speak to you, Wendy?
You sized me up after asking 3 questions.
Yes,
you
I
already
did.
had me figured out, and it's not true.
Yes, it is, Wendy. It is true. It is
I
true.
do not have a problem with the whatever daddy thing. No, I don't. I'm trying to, as he said, Dr. Valentine said, we don't think, we react.
Right.
He said we need to think and strategize, and that's, if you knew my show, which you don't, and I wouldn't expect you to. That's what we're talking about, and that's what I was saying. Maybe we need to consider how those of us in the public eye, when we're talking, we have to consider the strategy for the group, because it's not just about me. I can't just get on the radio and say whatever I want just because I'm trying to boost ratings, because I'm going to be, the whole race of people will be judged based on me if I'm in the public view. It's not fair, but it is the way it is, and I take that with a great deal of responsibility. Right.
Now, I understand the whole strategy thing. I understand that, but just a lot of the stuff that was said was just real over the top, the Mac Lessons show, and he's this, he's misogynistic, and all that stuff was just really, it was like you're waiting to go there.
I wasn't waiting. I just, my emotions and ego got, and I apologize on the Facebook page about that too. Mm-hmm. One of your viewers posted about that and explained what it was, and I said, you're right. I didn't know what the Mac thing was, and you're right, I didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't. Just like you reacted to how I spoke to you, and you chose to do whatever it was you did, that was what I chose to do too. Egos get in the way. Egos and emotions.
I had to check you a little bit, Wendy. You never been checked before by a man, have you?
Never been checked before by a man.
I'm not talking about the dude who knocked the earrings out your ears. That was something else. That wasn't checking.
Have I ever been checked before by a man? I don't think you checked me.
I did.
I
did. That was.
I
yeah.
mean, I'm not, I don't think you did. But
yeah, that
it
was
is,
checking.
whatever.
But has a dude ever checked you? You sound like you just never been checked by a dude before.
I have not.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not gonna. I mean, is that a bad thing?
That's not a bad thing at all. Sometimes some women need to be checked.
Did you just say women need to be checked?
I said sometimes some
God.
women need to be checked.
Oh yeah, I don't deny that. I don't think that.
Yes, indeed.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Now, Wendy, what do you have coming up in the future? I like your vibe, Wendy. I like your vibe. You got to present another side of yourself because the pitchforks and the torches were chasing you, and I'm glad you got a chance to show.
And by the way, that didn't scare me.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. But here's what I was thinking about those posts. It's like they didn't know who else was on that page. And this is what I mean, like, I just thought it was, that was just a lesson for me about how quick people are to believe one side and attack, and how they were attacking, attacking me in a vicious way, and how that presents to other people that could be observing that whole thing. Like, something about that just doesn't sit right with me, and I did not choose to do that.
But, yeah, but if you listen back to the interview, I mean, it was really, if you look at it, it seemed like I was being interviewed in a very unfair manner. It seemed like you were trying, it really did. It seemed like you were trying to throw me under the bus, which I have no problem. I can handle myself. That's not a problem. But it seems like you were trying to throw me under the bus and the film inadvertently by trying to discredit it with the Mac Lesson show. It just seemed like you were trying to show it in a negative light, and people reacted to that very negatively. So I can understand where people were coming from.
Okay, but I really didn't even bring up Mac Lessons until the end, and it was only I said I wouldn't expect more from someone that teaches people how to Mac, about how you talk to me, not about the film. And that's why I posted the whole interview. People can go back and look and listen for themselves. I said, I want to talk to you about Mac. I want you to explain what that is, because you would have an opportunity to explain what it is. Absolutely. You're a marketing genius, by the way. You have a brand, and you get how that works.
Right.
And so it's, for some reason, people are drawn to Mac. They wouldn't be drawn to what it really is if you were to just give it how to be a respectable man in society.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy that?
Really, it's really about a mindset. See, the thing is, the whole stereotype of it's about macking the black women, that's, a stereotype, and it's nothing, that couldn't be anything further than the truth. I don't do that. It's more deeper than that.
But you understand marketing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying. And I would have given you the opportunity to explain that. And I am an entertainer. I'm not a journalist. I'm an entertainer, and I do bring information. So when I'm talking to my audience, I want to get them excited about what we're talking about.
Okay.
So for me to say, yeah, he does Mac, it gets them like the same reason you use Mac. They're intrigued.
Right.
But then you get the opportunity to say what it really means. That's why I was doing that. I wasn't. At the end, though, yes, I was saying, because I didn't know. I'd never read your books or anything. I really didn't know.
Okay.
But, yeah.
There you go. That makes sense. There you go. Well, Wendy, it was so nice talking to you. The new brother, give the brother a chance. Don't throw the brother under the bus. The new brother that's trying to get with you just because he's a younger dude.
Oh my God.
He sees a nice, seasoned young lady who's experienced, with a good head on her shoulders. Yeah, seasoned. You're seasoned, like fine wine. The brother's trying to choose up on you. Good. How long have you been dealing with this guy?
Since about, since August.
Since August. That's a long time. Now let me ask you a personal question. Has he hit it yet?
Oh my God. I am not going there, Tariq.
We know you got a little freak in you, Wendy. Stop playing. Them little bougie girls are the biggest freaks. I know you got all types of freaks in you. Let's not play games with this thing, Wendy. My God. But seriously, all more power to you and that gentleman, and more power to your show. So that was the interview with me and Wendy Wright from WOL Radio. So there was a lot of interesting things in that interview, as you heard, especially about the Jack and Jill thing. I hate to be the kind of person who say, I told you so, but damn it, I called that Jack and Jill thing last week. I called that Jack and Jill thing last week when I was playing clips of them on their show, and the way they were talking, I said, that's that Jack and Jill stuff right there, the way Wendy and her sister were talking. And sure enough, her mom, Wendy's mom and Erica's mom, is a member of Jack and Jill. Now, Wendy tried to disconnect herself from it by saying it was her little sister that was in it, but her mother is in Jack and Jill, and that ideology is prevalent in the household. So I knew that a mile away. And also what was interesting with Wendy, she said that one of her relatives tried to get in an organization called the Blue Vein Society. Now, for those of you who listen to my pay-per-view special called Black Secret Societies, I mentioned the Blue Vein Society. That's one of the first black secret societies out there. They were called the Blue Vein Society because you had to be light enough in order to see your veins in order to get into the society. It wasn't for white folks. It was for very light-skinned black people to get in. Real deep stuff, and I go real deep into it in my Black Secret Society pay-per-view special at maclessons.com. But very interesting interview with Wendy. And again, like I said, there was a lot of backpedaling going on, but that's all right. It is what it is. And again, there was some choosing going on. Did y'all feel that choosing energy? See, when you check them, you get that choosing energy. You dig what I'm saying? I felt it. And when Wendy called up, I heard this music right here. I heard that player choosing music all day. But again, we saw another side of Wendy. We got to see another side of her to vibe with, and more power to her show. Again, I'm going to be on her show in the future. And the whole thing is about making a mistake. Wendy made a mistake, and I've said this before, and I said this to her. I think Wendy made a big mistake by trying to sabotage the first interview we did. She thought that it was going to be an easy win. She thought it was going to be an easy victory, and it backfired on her. That's all that happened. And then she didn't understand, or she didn't realize that there was going to be a big backlash. So now she's choosing up and she's cooperating, and that's all part of the game, and I respect that part of the game. So it is what it is. Let me put my Mac and music back on, ladies and gentlemen. But again, more power to Wendy. Check out her show, WOL Radio in Washington, D.C. That's been today's episode of the Mac Lessons Radio Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be on vacation next week. So I'll be back in a couple of weeks. You can listen to the archive shows until then. You can also listen to some of the pay-per-view specials until then. You guys have a happy holidays out there, no matter what you celebrate. Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Feliz Navidad, whatever you do out there. Don't forget to get Hidden Colors Film. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Tariq Nasheed. Like me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tariq Nasheed. Or type in the Tariq Elite fan page. And let's keep it P.I. to your D.I. Holla.